the cheesecloth allows air to still flow through, and it's in the areas where the butterfly occurs so that they don't get used to a completely different habitat.
What's the species of sedge you use?
Going to get to that in a moment.
Okay.
No worries. So yeah, so this is how we essentially do the captive rearing study. So one of the biggest problems with these butterfly, with the Francis Satyr, is we've never seen a caterpillar in the wild. So we're actually not sure what's the. I've seen papers where people just like dubious paper where they identify the host plant with ease. But my advisor is a bit more technical about this, and we have a really good idea that it's Carex mitriana just based on where we see the butterflies versus the sedges that we see. There's always Carex mitriana where we see the butterflies, and where there's no butterflies, normally you don't see Carex mitriana. But the fact is we've never seen a caterpillar in the wild. I was I'm sure I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only student who came here. These bunch of Americans, it's just they can't find a butterfly in the wild. Let me show them how to do it. And thank you. And I've still not seen a butterfly in the wild, so I know how they look like. I took a lot of photos, but yeah, it's difficult. So just to keep our options open, we did the captive rearing. These sedges, we did it in. We used three different sedges. We used quite a few, but these are the three more important sedges that we've done the captive rearing on. And ironically, the Carex mitriana, which we think is the host plant, has the lowest survival rate of any other butterfly. Obviously, there's more caterpillars that we put on there, but more of them died. While Lurida and Atlantica, there's just almost 100% survival of the caterpillars. So irony, but so we still don't know. So we just keep rearing them on all three of these plants. Like butterflies, also known to switch between host plants within a family. So it's not a big deal. Like I'm currently working on this Miami blue, and it's like, what do you do? Because there's each of the different sites have a different host plant. So it's like now the one host plant that occurs in the Key West National Wildlife Refuge is not in the area where they want to reintroduce the Key Biscayne. So it's like, so this is yeah. So it's interesting. So identifying our suitable habitat was the next step.
Did you have the caterpillars in equal numbers of those sedges? Did you have most of them on the Mitchell Lake?
Yeah. But because we feel that mitriana is the most likely host plant, we definitely put more caterpillars on them.
Okay, so there was a bias there to begin with then.
Well, there's a bias, but you can see there's zero died, so it's about the proportion as opposed to the absolute number of butterflies that died. So it's a good point, but yeah. So the way of identifying suitable habitat is with species distribution modeling, and this is where my work really starts coming in. So hopefully you don't get overwhelmed completely now. But essentially, a simple way of understanding species distribution modeling is you have a habitat map, and say you don't have perfect sampling. You only sample this area and you only sample this area. You have some presences of the population. You put it in a model. The model is going to probably tell you that if this is a homogeneous landscape where this water it's like a river as any other river, there's a slight chance that this is either a school of fish that just needs to move here, or you didn't sample there, but all this is going to show up a suitable habitat.
What size area is this representing?
So this is just a graphical representation, so it's not showing.
Oh, it's just to show the principle.
Yeah, it's just the principle. So here's a river, a landscape with a river. There you can say this is a bit of grassland or forest. This is a bit of a riverine forest. There's maybe a rocky outcrop or something like that. So it's just a representation of, like an abstract representation to explain species distribution modeling. So what you can also do is, instead of just using one habitat map, you can use a few maps, and using a few maps it can give you a better idea of, better than you can interpret sometimes, it can give you an idea of really what they like. The butterfly, the fishes like, for example, they live in rivers. Unless the rivers have overhanging vegetation, then they don't want to live there. So you can get kind of interactions between different kind of environmental variables here, and that will give you like kind of probability map where the species occur, where like you can make your peak dark red, might be areas either where they occur or not, and then these greener areas not. So the environmental, so there's two ways you can do environmental predictors. You can either use inferred environmental variables like a habitat map, or you can use the raw environmental maps that people, for example, just raw data that people use. And I'm kind of biased towards raw data simply because what you can do is my mouth's getting dry here. Simply because there's going to be less error in those. Like I've seen a lot of habitat maps, and you always like kind of wonder where's the boundary between the two vegetation types and things like that. So if you just do, for example, the raw map, where people infer that vegetation map, you can see the gradient between the different habitats, which I'll get to in a moment. So I use them. This is called remote sensing, and essentially you get the data without actually having been in the area. You can go and put a bunch of thermometers in, or you can just get a snapshot of the area with like either satellite or like with a plane, just taking images for various ways and to get an idea of what the environment is. I use 9 land cover variables. I'll run through each of these now. 9 land cover variables, 5 terrain variables, and 5 vegetation structure variables. So land cover is, I think, is really cool. NASA has made this immense database of Landsat images available for free. There's also modus cover. Essentially, it's essentially what they do is that depending on the satellite, this satellite takes 7 images through different light filter. It's light that you shoot down to the Earth. You get through different filters. It reflects the light back to the satellite, and if you stack these images together, you get essentially a true color image of this area. This is Kruger National Park in Cameroon, which is one of my study sites. I just show this because it's a bit more varied compared to Fort Bragg, and it's also it's global coverage of this through these Landsat images. Glider River Canyon in South Africa is another one. Just to give you an idea of what's going on. So essentially you have these 7 different bands, and you can these are like 3 bands that you put together, and what you can do also is you can you can put these bands through different equations, and using those equations can give you brightness, which is essentially soil reflectance from these areas. So you can see these light areas is, for example, areas where there's like lighter areas would be higher brightness, and the darker colors will be less brightness, and like light areas is, for example, buildings. Buildings are going to have a brighter reflectance. Greenness is essentially higher greenness is forest, lower greenness would be something like buildings. And here the buildings fall away again, but you can see these are the reaches of a mountain, and there's not going to be a lot of plants on a reach of a mountain, while you can see here's the Kruger Park, where you can see elephants is just beside here, but you can see here how it becomes darker as you move towards nature reserve. Wetness, just the amount of water in area, and obviously you can have ponds and things, but there's also water in vegetation. And once again you can see that here's the reaches of the mountain. There's not going to be a lot of water on the top of a mountain ridge, while here's there's just, that's supposed to be a forest, and like there's a bit of, so you need to this is the human habitation, but you just got to this is why you use different images together. So what you also get here is, it's not only global coverage, it's also this Landsat study started in 1974, So from 1974 until now, on the Lancet specifically, you have global coverage of satellite images every 14 days globally. So it's pretty sweet to be able to start from 1980, 1990, and just see how vegetation changes. So you can see here, there's like a human habitation, and you can really see how it grows over time. And because this is a 14-day interval, you can also get winter images and you can get summer images. So it gives you, instead of having a habitat map, it gives you a real good idea of what's going on. You can see the gradients between habitats. So this is why I just really like using remote sensing tools for this.
And where do you get this?
On the, you can do, it's on the web, so you can essentially just, if you want to see,
Is it
no,
free?
it's free. Everything is free. I think it's the best thing since sliced bread almost. You have global coverage, like you don't have to be in the area. You can get the raw images like from 1974. It's just, that'd be awesome. At 30-meter resolution also. So
USGS.
yeah, Globus at usgs.gov. Yeah, just Google it. So it's pretty sweet too. And recently, like, it was kind of a pain because previously, like, if to get an image like this, you had to process it. But they now have JPEG images, so all of you can just go up and you can like go and draw up. Hey, there's my house. So it's actually, it's 30 meters. You won't see your dog, but you'll see your pool or something. So I think it's, yeah. So so what I've done is I used a winter image. I calculate the brightness, greenness, and the wetness index for the butterflies. Each of these is, would be important. Like, you don't want a butterfly. The butterflies don't like soil areas. They like kind of grown areas. Greenness, like like these riparian zones have a bit of a different greenness.